Psalm 26, like so many other Psalms, is an appeal to God. However, it is rare, in doing so based solely upon personal integrity. Most Psalms of its type appeal to God's mercy instead of asking God to judge them as already totally worthy of being blessed by God. I have always been mindful of your unfailing love, he says, and have lived in reliance on your faithfulness. I do not sit with the deceitful, nor do I associate with hypocrites. I abhor the assembly of evildoers and refuse to sit with the wicked. The psalmist truly seems to believe that he was not like the others. He alone was a righteous man, and therefore he had nothing to do with those who were unrighteous. Recently, a pastor posted a message online trying to make sense out of Psalm 26. I understand that it is a psalm about seeking to live a good life in God's eyes, he wrote. Yet Jesus did all of those things, not to join in with them, but to minister to them. It seems to me that pastors and others in ministry and mission are actually called by Christ to do just those things. Sit with those who are considered by many worthless, engage hypocrites in conversation, love and spend time working among evildoers and the wicked as we seek to bring them the gospel of Christ. Wondering if anyone else has ever noted this or has any constructive thoughts, he said. Well, yes, I do, and thanks for asking. Jesus absolutely broke all the rules when he began to associate with the so-called wicked. He was seen with them, he ate with them, he sat down with them. It is hard to argue, however, that he ever became just like them. He was also frequently seen in the company of Pharisees, but Jesus was never really one of them either. It is safe to say that the identity of Jesus was never determined by the company that he kept. Yet if anyone who ever lived could claim to be self-righteous, it was Jesus, not righteous in the eyes of men, but in the eyes of God. As John said in his gospel, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Although he was truly human, he never really walked in the same direction as everyone else. He invited people instead to follow him. Unlike the writer of Psalm 26, Jesus truly could say, I lead a blameless life. And yet he did not limit his contacts to those who were trying to do the same. Was the psalmist wrong then not to sit with the wicked sometimes? Should we? That is really the question that this pastor was posing. Will we be corrupted if we do that? Or will the wicked be made better on the whole because we did so? It is true that any group that we belong to will sometimes shape our thoughts for better or worse. We know that some people can bring out the best in us, but others might just bring out the worst in us. That is especially true if we are the type to just go along to get along. In time, we will become whatever we pretend to be. Therefore, if you sit with the wicked long enough and pretend to be like them, people really will think that you are wicked too, because you probably are. Even if you never do anything wrong, you will still be complicit in their wrongdoing. When the death camps in Germany were liberated, Allied troops rounded up those in neighboring towns and forced them to walk through the camps where dead bodies still lay, victims of the Holocaust. Why did they do this? They complained. We had nothing to do with any of this. Strictly speaking, that was not true. They were all complicit, either by their actions or their inactions during that awful time. Certainly, the fear of being linked with the wrongdoing of others is one reason to be very careful about who you sit with, so to speak. We dare not let our identity be determined by our silence when we should have spoken out. Silence, after all, is consent to whatever is done in our name, even when it's by our country. And that, of course, is a group we are forced to be a part of. We have no choice. In other situations where we do have a choice, however, we may want to think long and hard about who we are sitting with. The question to ponder is whether our presence can truly help change either them or us for the better. Sometimes it can, but if and only if we are able to maintain our own identity. It is always good to ask ourselves whether they are changing who we are, or we are changing who they are. If they are changing who we are, it may be time to walk away before it is too late. I think in general, however, we can apply two simple rules about who we are friends with and who we choose to sit with. First, it really isn't necessary to avoid associating with people altogether or taking joy in their company. After all, there may be ways that we can help each other. There may be joy in sharing fellowship together. There may be good that can be accomplished only working together. Those are all valid reasons for any friendship or for becoming a part of any group. But you should never allow yourself to become completely defined by the company you keep. You can add nothing to that relationship if you are not yourself. If, however, you can still be who you are without compromising your own principles, then chances are it will lead to a positive change for both of you. Always be a nonconformist, however, rather than a blind follower of others. Be there only as long as your presence makes a positive difference, both for the others and for yourself. As Paul said, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. I believe that the person who can do that makes a good friend and a good addition to any group, no matter who they are. Secondly, wherever you go, invite Jesus along. You know the stories. You know his teachings. You know right from wrong. If you hold on to your identity as a follower of Christ, first and foremost, then you will bring something positive to everyone you encounter. It is said that a holy man was engaged in his morning meditations one day, and as he sat by the riverbank, he saw a scorpion caught in the rocks who was about to perish as the water kept rising. So the holy man walked out into the water and reached down to try and free the scorpion. And each time he did so, the scorpion tried to sting him. An observer said to him, "Don't you know that is a scorpion, and it is in the nature of a scorpion to want to sting?" "That may be," the holy man replied, "but it is my nature to save. So must I change my nature just because the scorpion does not?" Basically, the rule which applies in every situation is simply this: sit anywhere you like with anyone, as long as you can sit next to Jesus too. Then your true identity will always be determined by his presence with you. He will guide and protect you from the scorpions. Be safe, and God bless you.